We're going to be talking about big data, big insights, how analytics is revolutionizing digital banking. And interesting comments I've had today about digital transformation, digitizing. All of these words are actually very different. So what I'm going to try to do today is unbundle or try and decouple digital and data and how they synergize together. So I will start off by first introducing myself. Chief Data Officer, Absa Bank Kenya. Been in tech, consulting, and data for 15 years now. Developed a mastery in creating data and digital strategies for large organizations, mostly banks. But today we're talking about fintechs as well. And there are key lessons we can actually share amongst the two sectors. So the flow of the presentation is going to be this. So I'll start off by just giving you an oversight on digital transformation. And I was speaking to a good friend of mine, a professor in Switzerland, and he actually gave me some interesting slides that I'm going to also share, actually one or two. Then we'll look at how do you ensure that you can orchestrate digital transformation, and where does data play into that? Then we'll finish off by telling you, or just taking you through the steps, on how you can build the right capacity for developing big data analytics skills. So we start off by the definition. And I've had multiple people today talking about digital. And arguably, some people may say it's moving from analog to automated. Then there is digitization, whereby you're utilizing digital to change a process or a business use case. Then there is digital transformation. So I've read multiple definitions of digital transformation, and this is the simplest. I chose the simplest, which is the convergence of multiple technology innovations enabled by connectivity. As simple as that. And there are multiple white papers trying to simplify this, because if you look at how digital transformation became a topical conversation, aside from the consulting space. So our big fours, our Fortune 500 consultants were actually the ones who are coming up with these definitions. But this is the simplest. And you can't talk about digital transformation if you don't talk about maturity. And people like maturity bar graphs. And I'm sure you have heard of multiple digital transformation maturity. This is a very unique one. And I want you to be very keen, because that friend of mine told me, after looking at companies for more than 20 years, this is the simplified process that you actually have to go through to finally become an agile business. So step number one is called siloed. So at this level, what happens is that you have an IT team. And if you ask the management, are you digital or are you transformed with regards to using digital capabilities, they will tell you, yes, we have a head of IT or a CEO. And they will close the call. These days it's on Teams. So we are good. That's silo, that's level 0. There's no level there. It's because you have not understood how you can actually utilize this new capability. Level 1 is called isolated. And I don't know if you can see the fine structure below that stage. You're able to see we have circled the CIO, the CMO, and the CFO. So what usually happens at isolated is that you have different champions who actually come and present a case to actually start the digital transformation journey. So it's either the three. Either you get someone in marketing, if you're mostly in the manufacturing sector, but in the financial services sector and fintech, you'll get the CIO or a business head or someone in finance told, we have to be digital. Please champion it. And you say, fine, we start discussing about digital transformation. Now, stage number 2 is called synchronized. Now, this is where, after doing a lot of research, that business or technical head has to bring all the other people together so that you can have a united front going forward. It is synchronized because we start now trying to leverage our understanding of the gaps and what you can be able to fix to move people forward. So at synchronized level is whereby the different business heads come together and say, you know what, let's move together. We are going to actually put it in our investor relations deck that we are now digitally transformed, and we are actually keen with regards to buying digital technologies and implementing digital use cases. Level number 3 is very, very important. It's because it happens after an off-site meeting with the board or with the management. And you can see the only change that you see in that level is the CEO actually coming on board fully. And at this level, the whole top management is key about how do you ensure that we are digitally transformed. So it's strategic. So it becomes an important talking point for everyone. Everyone is speaking digital, people understand the gaps, we have put aside some money, and then we start rolling out projects. Level number 4 is called integrated. And at this level, people say we are doing so many things from different places. Everyone is doing something. We have to recruit a head of digital. So interesting enough, it's at that level that you see that structure expanding, and you say we need to have someone who is a chief level and speaks to digital transformation. And all the work now moves from all the KPIs from everyone, moves to this one central person. But the interesting point is that point number 5, where it's called you have now become a fully agile business. It's a shift and a disruption. What usually happens is either a new leadership comes into place, or the digital officer has done his strategic and operational work, and you get that now digital is not longer under a pillar, but embedded within teams. And that's the level that is an agile business. So very interesting, because as I was speaking to him and telling him, I want to just understand your model very well. We have multiple digital transformation models, as well as data models, and I'll show you a few. But it just shows that it's all about convincing different leaders in the organization to take up digital to a point that it's properly embedded within the business. Now, so what is digital transformation? So it's organizational change through the use of digital technologies and business models to improve performance. As simple as that. And I know it may come from different fronts. You may have the technology providers selling you software, or you may have the business having challenges, and they're saying we attended a DX5 conference and we met some people and we want to implement it. There are different ways of achieving this. But just to simplify how you actually orchestrate your digital transformation journey, I'll show you this operating model. It's by the Business Digital Transformation Association. People didn't know there's one. And they said, if you're actually going to run digital transformation successfully, then this is the guide. And it's the form of an orchestra. And it has 4 distinct areas, or instruments, or capabilities. And the first one on the left, let me start actually from the right, is organization. So that's how are you actually set up to become digitally transformed? So you're talking about the structures in the organization, what incentives are there for the people who are interfacing with customers, what is the culture embedment in the organization, how do you ensure that you are actually having the right structure and organization to become digitally transformed. The second one is operations. How are we doing it? And here you have 2 sets of instruments. You have processes and IT capability. So all your tech, different kinds of innovations, all of them fit under operations, as well as how do we change our organizational processes to ensure that we are able to become more digitally transformed. Then we have engagement. How are we actually engaging with our customers, as well as customers, partners, and the workforce internally. And the last one is the go-to-market. So what are you actually proposing to the market, and what channels are you actually using to deliver this? Now that's the orchestra. But the interesting thing that people don't mention, and this model brings out very clearly, is that the person who's actually conducting the orchestra is data. And if you look at different areas of this, from the organization, you have to be able to use data to understand how do you set up a proper fit? Where do you have efficiencies? Where do you have gaps? And all of this can be brought out using data insights. Operations, how do you conduct business process re-engineering? How do you know exactly where do I have affordances for improvement? Engagement, how do we know what our customers want? How do we analyze sentiments? How do we know exactly how to give them exactly what they are looking for when they come to our different operational channels? And the last one is channels. Channel optimization, pricing and profitability, coming up with new business offerings. All of this use data. Now that said, what is big data? And how do you couple data and digital? And it's very interesting because people know of the 3 Ps and the 4 Ps of data. I just got someone having the 8 Ps of data, which was interesting. So I said, let me share this. And I won't read them all. I'll leave this as you get the slides to refer to. But you can see that data now is not only about volume, veracity, and all those interesting insights, but value also comes into space. Viscosity. How fluid is it? How can you actually make insights on the fly? Virality, variety, all of this I think have been spoken. But if you look at the extra 4 that are coming into space, we are actually seeing that data is having more capability as compared to the previous time, whereby you're just using this for reporting. And how did we get here? I usually summarize it into 4 different ways. Number 1, granularity. The reason why we actually had to speak about big data is because data became granular. With the adoption of digital devices as well as mobile phones, we were able to create more data points on our hand than when we walk into a branch. And it's interesting because I should tell people, as financial services companies, we can only create value for our customers using 20% of the data because they are only creating 20% of the data with us, and the rest of it is actually in the ecosystem. You have to find ways of bringing in more data points. Number 2 is storage. And I think I won't expound on this because with storage, we were actually having challenges of on-premise, and now you have cloud. Then there is how fast we are able to write data. With more devices means that we actually have to store and retrieve data more. And the last one is accessibility. And if you're talking about data, you can't skip the subject that is architecture. And this is the standard way. I won't actually spend time here because this is exactly how people organize their warehousing capabilities and data lakes. It's there. It has been there since 1985. But the new way of looking at things is this. For you to actually be able to deliver your digital capabilities seamlessly, you have to change the way you are organizing your data. And I'll summarize it for you. There are 6 principles. You can start reading them. So from on-premise to cloud, which is number 1. Number 2 is from batch to real-time. Banks, we know our problems. We can't give you real-time data for analytics. We'll give you near real-time and T-1, and we'll be very happy and showcase our servers to you. You have to visit the data center just to see the servers. But that's not the way things are actually moving towards. If you're going to become digital, it's more about real-time data. Then stop looking at now, and maybe this is to suppliers, it's all about modularizing your software. How can you have easily, loosely coupled architectures for your platforms so that you can plug and play different kinds of capabilities? Then from point-to-point access to decoupled access, and that's an interesting point because if you look at the topics on the left, you're seeing that data is now sandwiched between your systems of record and your channels. It's interesting, yeah? Because we usually say the core banking system has to be interfaced with your channels. Then everything flows to the warehouse. Now with real-time data, data is sandwiched between the two. Instead of having a universal serial bus or a microservices architecture as the middle layer, data sits there if it's real-time. Why? Because whatever is being consumed and created in form of analytics can actually also be used by the channels. So interesting insights here. So much more things are important, from data governance, storage, and I'll skip this because people who are in data know about all these details. But I want to speak about something very interesting. Maturity. Now that you understand digital, you have gotten your supplier to come, they are presented to the board and the CIO, you went to Naivasha, and guys are happy. And now you're told, how do you use data to support digital? It's an art. It's an art. And basically, you have to know what are your maturity levels and where are you. So I usually use two, the Data Warehouse Institute as well as Gartner. Gartner is simplified. I won't go through it in detail, but I'll tell you this. That it has 5 levels, from being basic, opportunistic, systematic, differentiating, and transformational. And at basic level, you are actually all siloed and everyone is doing their own thing. People are on Excel. At opportunistic, you are actually trying to use automation through Power BI. Mostly everyone has Power BI. And at systematic, you come together. Everyone comes together to say, can we have an unified enterprise architecture for data? Differentiating is where you start measuring the value, commercialization and monetization from data. And level 5 is whereby you are transforming the industry using data. But the question will be, how do you actually get from level 1 to level 5 so that you can support digital transformation? And I'll tell you, I'll just give you the snippets because I can speak about this the whole day and give you experiences and learnings from different areas. The first thing you have to do is you have to create the need for data. And creating the need for data is very simple. You have to ensure that you are able to go to your top leadership and show them exactly why they need to change from what they are doing with their data to what is going to create value. So it's all about pitching a case. The second thing you have to do is you have to diagnose the setup. You have to know what are my existing gaps with regards to data analytics capabilities and know exactly, do I use a consultant or how do I actually go ahead with regards to fixing this? The next thing, you have to ensure that you can do a proof of concept. You have to show that where we have data gaps, we can actually utilize existing software to create some reports, analytics, use cases that will be of value to the organization. And the next thing you have to do is to get a sponsor. This is a level 1, because you're moving away from Excel systems to more into how can we start seeing more value in data. Then you come up with a strategy for yourself, and you start putting it into production. Opportunistic is very simple, because most people are actually here in the audience. At this level is whereby you're scaling up what you've proved. Either it's automation, analytics, and you are actually able to ensure that when you are showcasing value to the business, they are actually being brought along. The second thing you have to do is tools and the architecture. You have to get professionals to come and help you set up a proper data architecture. And you also have to look at data governance and management. So I'll close out at systematic and tell you exactly how systematic will look. And this is also called early adoption as per the TDWI. And this has 4 areas. The first one is that you have to think about centralizing, some form of centralization of data capabilities. Because later on, you have to federate them out. So if you have different pillars sitting in silos doing data kind of analytics, you have to find a way of either giving them unified software or making them work together. The second thing, you have to scale up. One thing you have to know is that data skills and capabilities are actually very rare. And you have to keep on training your team members to ensure that they have the right kind of data capacity. You have also to look at policies and standards. This, you may have to get the help of a consultant or someone who knows exactly how to create this. And the last thing you have to do at this level before you scale up is start measuring value. Because you do not want a case whereby you have a digital strategy or a data strategy and you are having people not seeing the value. You'll become a cost center. So it's usually very wise from level 3 all the way to level 5 to actually ensure that you are measuring value and you have a case to showcase how much value you're delivering from your data strategy and data capabilities. And I'll stop there and thank you all for your time. Thank you.